I used to go to a pretty good grammar school, but just because the kids are supposed to be smart doesn't mean the teachers were great teachers. My experience with science teachers was a pretty horrid one, and it meant that by year 11 mocks, I was on a big fat U, like ungradable. That's what it stands for if you didn't know. I was ungradable for science. So how did I go from that to a 9 in my actual exam? If you don't believe me, there's the 9 right there. You can see it right there in the flesh. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you why I was so bad at science in the first place, what made me decide to change, and then the exact simple routine that got me from a U to a 9 in my combined science GCSE. My teachers for science were enthusiastic, but they weren't very great. I remember for my biology year 9 and 10, I had a food tech teacher who was training food tech and she was teaching it full time, but we were so short on biology teachers because, well, we were pretty underfunded that she had to cover for biology. And I remember she just used to go through the PowerPoint the whole lesson without much explanation. And I just used to just sit there and have no clue what's going on. And my GCSE biology book was like the emptiest book I ever had. Every day I'd write the title, couple words, the first few slides, and then nothing else. All of that meant I was just terrible at science. We had like a test every single term. I was just flopping them. But because they weren't very serious tests, I didn't take them really seriously. And when my parents asked about it, I was just like, oh no, like it's fine. It's just a small test. Deep down I knew, like I was pretty cooked for science. For my actual mocks for year 11, I came out with some terrible grades. I don't exactly remember all of the tests, but the one test I do remember was a 7 out of 40 in chemistry. Half of the test was actually multiple choice. So how I managed to get that, I am not quite sure. I got the grade back and it was for my year 11 mock. So my predictions were based on these grades and I just kind of looked at the paper and I wasn't shocked at all. I knew I was terrible and I got a terrible grade, and it just confirmed my suspicion that I was too stupid for science. I just thought I wasn't capable of understanding the subject properly. What I also realized at the time was that I'm in big trouble for the actual exam. Despite all of the things that have happened in the past 2 years, I wanted a good science grade. I really did. But I didn't know how to get there. I felt so lost and just so disappointed in that moment that I didn't try harder earlier. And something that made it worse was that my whole combined science class was pretty bad at science as a whole. I had a few kids who were just messing around, and I would laugh when they were messing around because it made the lesson more entertaining, but obviously I was still scared for my grade. And I had this feeling that all of us were going down. I got 7 out of 40. There were kids who were getting 3s and 5s, and they were laughing with me and I was laughing with them in the moment. But really, when I got home, I realized it wasn't really funny at all. And my teacher ended up predicting me a 4 for my actual exam. I would have predicted myself a bit lower than that. But I went home that day. I really had this feeling of doom that I was cooked beyond belief. So I changed 2 of my core beliefs. The first core belief was that science is a really hard subject. Now, I held that belief because it was, for me, a really hard subject throughout the years. It was really difficult and I just didn't like it. So for me, it was really difficult. But then I took a look at the mark schemes and I realized in the actual GCSE, to get a 9, you only had to get about half of the marks available, maybe 60%. That was way lower than I thought. I thought it would be way higher than that. That's not that terrible. I not only got 7 out of 40, but if I can manage to get a few marks here or there, I can get like a 6 or a 7. I actually realized that it wouldn't take that much effort for me to go from a really terrible grade to a decent one. Another thing that encouraged me to try was my physics teacher, because he'd explained to us that, once again, science isn't too difficult as a topic. And he actually showed me that through explaining certain topics to me and helping me practice certain physics questions. And once I got a hang of it and I realized a lot of physics was just maths, I started doing better as well. And so here comes the change. I'm just gonna first of all tell you exactly what I did every single day to up my science grade. And I'm going to split it into 2 parts. First part is how I covered content, and second part is how I covered exam skills. So for the first part, I came home and I just started looking up like GCSE science websites on Google. I just searched up GCSE science. And it just happened so that this maths website started doing a GCSE science course on their website. And the website was called MME, Maths Made Easy. And my school actually used them for our maths homework sometimes. But I saw a GCSE combined science course on there and I was intrigued. And it looked really, really good. And this was actually the year that they were piloting the program. So it was just coming out. Everything was new and there were mistakes and stuff. But I didn't really mind. I just really cared about the fact that it was free. I was quite excited with this actually. I was like, oh, okay, if this thing could really help me and it's free, I might as well use it. And I started looking through. And the website was really good because it broke the topics down into 3 categories. And these are the same categories in which I think you should revise. First of all, they had like a 7-slide slideshow on each topic. Every single topic throughout the specification for combined science, they had one of these slideshows. They also, for that topic, had a quiz and practice exam questions. And they packaged it all into one site where you can click on each one and access each of the packages for that topic. And I figured to myself, well, at the very least, if I am able to cover every single one of these capsules, I should be great for science. But the thing obviously was that is a huge undertaking. And I was pretty scared to do it because I have failed so many times before to try and revise. What's different this time? What was different this time was that I actually made it into a habit. Because what started happening was every time when I get back from school, I wouldn't even go to dinner. Before dinner, I would hop on MME and I'll do like 3 to 4 capsules. I don't know why I was so motivated, to be honest with you. I don't know why I worked so hard, but I realized over time while doing these capsules that actually the capsules weren't very difficult. I read the slideshows, I understood them, the quiz tested my knowledge, and because I just read the slideshow, the quiz was relatively easy. I was getting like really good marks on the quizzes, and I'll get a really good mark on the mock at the end as well. It didn't take too long at all. I'd smash out 20 minutes, I like getting things right, and more often than not, I got the things right. And if I didn't, I just read the slideshow again. It was just basically reading comprehension. But then I started doing more practice on the side for my exam skill, and I started to realize that actually I was retaining the information quite well. That built a lot of momentum, and that's the key thing here I want to emphasize to you. 2 to 3 hours every day, it became easier and easier to do the work because I had so much momentum, and I actually ended up covering every single topic on that website. And then I just did 3 past papers before the actual exam for each paper. And that is literally all I did to get a 9 on combined science.